All right, let's get straight into a debate that, well, it never really seems to end in football, does it? Ronaldo Nazário versus Cristiano Ronaldo.
R9 and CR7. Yeah, it's a classic.
Exactly. And today, we're really going to dive deep into what the legends, the actual players, think. Who do they see as the real or maybe the better Ronaldo?
It's fascinating because you get such strong opinions from players who've seen it all.
Mm-hmm. And it's actually a great way for you listening to maybe sharpen your English, picking up on how these legends talk about the game, the specific words they use.
Sure, lots of good football vocabulary in there.
So our mission, if you like, is pretty simple. Give you a proper, well-rounded look at this through the eyes of the greats, the guys who played with them, against them. Might be some surprises.
Definitely. And this whole comparison, it's just so compelling, especially seeing how the narrative has shifted over time with Cristiano's incredible career length.
Yeah, that term real Ronaldo, I mean, where did that even come from? It was mostly back in the early, maybe mid-2000s, wasn't it?
Uh-huh. It was basically to distinguish Ronaldo Nazário, the Brazilian, from this young Portuguese kid, Cristiano, who was just starting to make waves.
Right, so it started as a kind of deference, like respecting the original, the established star.
Exactly that. It was pure respect. R9 was already, a whole phenomenon. He'd done amazing things, Ballon d'Ors, World Cups. He was the Ronaldo.
He really was a phenomenon. That nickname was spot on. PSV, Barca, Inter, Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Just wow.
Absolutely. But then, years go by, Cristiano just keeps going, keeps scoring. Unbelievable numbers.
Totally. And suddenly you've got a whole new generation who've mostly watched CR7 dominate. So for them, maybe he's the real Ronaldo they think of first.
Understandably so. I mean, the sheer volume of goals CR7 has scored, it's mind-boggling. It dwarfs R9's total.
Though we have to factor in the career length, right? Cristiano played at the absolute peak for much, much longer.
That's the crucial point. That longevity, staying elite across different leagues, winning with Portugal, it's extraordinary.
It really is. And it's funny, beyond the name, they both had these huge global brands, R9, CR7, both massive with Nike too.
Yeah, huge commercial impact for both. And interestingly, their roles on the pitch evolved similarly.
How so?
Well, both started out wider, didn't they? R9 could play wide early on, and CR7 famously started as a winger at United.
Ah, good point. Then both moved more central, became more like pure number nines, especially later in their careers.
Exactly, that transition to being the main goal threat.
And we should probably mention, just for context, there were other famous Ronaldos too, like Ronaldinho, even Ronaldo back in the day.
Right, so having a way to specify which Ronaldo you meant was actually kind of necessary.
Okay, so that sets the scene. Now let's get into what the legends themselves actually said. And it's pretty striking, isn't it? A lot of them seem to lean towards R9.
A surprising number, perhaps, given CR7's stats. Thierry Henry, for instance, was really explicit about it fairly recently in 2022.
What did he say?
He basically said, flat out, R9 is the real Ronaldo. For his generation growing up, R9 was the Ronaldo, full stop.
Wow. That's a strong statement from Henry. He knows his football.
And then there's Kaká. Now, Kaká actually played with Cristiano at Real Madrid.
Right, so you'd maybe expect him to favor CR7.
Maybe, but no. He named R9 as the best player he ever played alongside. He talked about R9's speed of thought, how quickly he saw things and executed them, said it was unique.
Speed of thought. That's high praise indeed, especially coming from Kaká, who saw CR7's brilliance day in, day out.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just attacking players. Alan Shearer, Mr. Really Goals himself.
Yeah, what did Shearer say?
They asked him straight up, R9 or CR7, and apparently he didn't even pause, just, oh, R9, instantly.
Huh. Straightforward as ever from Shearer. He should know a good striker when he sees one.
His decisiveness there really tells you something about the impact R9 had on his peers. Then you've got Micah Richards.
Okay, Richards.
He acknowledged CR7 probably scored more goals, the volume, but he felt R9's goals were often different, more individual, taking on 3-4 players. Pure brilliance.
Right, that solo ability, just destroying defenses on his own. It seems to be a common theme.
It really does. Ian Wright, another legend, he hesitated a bit, but then also went for R9.
What was Wrighty's reasoning?
He brought up the Fenomeno nickname again, talked about the whole package. Pace, skill, goals, vision, creativity, everything. And he suggested most other greats would probably pick R9 too.
Interesting. This idea of pure talent keeps coming up.
Yeah, Samir Nasri even went further. He suggested that R9, and maybe Ronaldinho too, had more pure, raw talent than both Messi and CR7.
Whoa, that's a massive claim.
It is. He mentioned coaches being just amazed by what R9 could do naturally, things that maybe didn't come from just dedication, but inherent gifts, that effortless seeming magic.
That dribbling, that instinct.
Exactly. And someone who saw it up close was Christian Vieri, his teammate at Inter.
Vieri, yeah. What was his take?
He said R9 just had it all. Explosive, powerful, fast, like a dancer with the ball. He flat out said R9 was better than CR7.
But he acknowledged CR7 too.
Oh, yeah. He called CR7 an admirable war machine, praised his longevity. But for him, R9 was just better, more natural talent.
A war machine, that's quite a description for CR7. Shows that relentless drive.
It does. And think about the defenders who had to face them. Alessandro Nesta, one of the best Italian defenders ever.
Nesta. What did he reckon?
He played against both, and Messi too. He said the Brazilian Ronaldo was just something different from the other two.
That's huge coming from a defender of his caliber, something different.
It really makes you think. Even Jose Mourinho, he coached Cristiano, remember?
Yeah, at Real Madrid.
But Mourinho said the best player he ever saw step on a pitch was R9 at Barcelona when he was just 19.
19, before the major injuries really hit.
Exactly. Mourinho acknowledged the injuries hampered him, but said in terms of pure talent, pure skill, nobody surpasses R9. Even with Messi and CR7's long careers.
That injury point is key, isn't it? What might have been.
Definitely. Luis Figo played with both Ronaldos, too.
Right, at Real Madrid.
Yeah. Back in 2018, Figo said, while CR7 scores loads, especially headers, R9 was simply the best in front of goal. Just lethal.
So again, that finishing ability, that instinct in the box.
Mm-hmm. And Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Well, he just said R9 was his favorite player, the one he tried to copy as a kid.
If Zlatan looks up to you, that says something.
It certainly does. And one more, Mikel Silvestri. He actually played with Cristiano at Manchester United early on.
Okay, so maybe he'd lean towards CR7.
You'd think. But nope, he felt R9 was superior. Faster, more unpredictable. He said R9 could just invent things, score from anywhere, even when he looked injured.
Invent things. Yeah, that captures that R9 magic, doesn't it? The unexpected brilliance.
Totally. So you see this pattern from so many legends really favoring R9's raw talent and impact.
It's pretty overwhelming when you list them out like that. But it's not completely one-sided, is it? We should acknowledge the other view.
No, absolutely not. There are strong arguments for Cristiano. Like, we heard that commentator Greg making the case for CR7.
What was his reasoning, mainly?
Largely based on watching him more, seeing that sustained dominance over so many years, the trophies, winning Euro 2016 with Portugal. Things R9 didn't quite achieve internationally in the same way, despite the World Cups.
That's a fair point. The sheer volume of CR7's success, the titles, the consistency, it's undeniable.
And there's probably more easily available footage of CR7's entire career in high quality, right? Which might make it easier for people now to appreciate everything he did compared to R9's era.
Yeah, maybe relying on memory and older clips for R9 makes it different. And their styles were different, too.
Definitely. R9 often described as more instinctive, pure talent. CR7 seen as maybe more athletic, driven, that relentless pursuit of perfection.
The ultimate professional, almost manufactured perfection in a way.
Yeah.
Compared to R9's more natural flow.
Something like that. And CR7's palmares, his list of honors is incredible. More Ballon d'Ors, more Champions Leagues. Those are big factors for many people. That word palmares, by the way, just means a list of achievements or honors. Useful bit of vocabulary there.
Palmares. Got it. So yeah, strong arguments for CR7 based on consistency and trophies.
For sure. It really depends what you value most. Raw talent and peak brilliance, or sustained excellence and accumulated silverware.
What about R9 himself? Has he weighed in much?
He's usually pretty diplomatic about it, actually.
Yeah. Not claiming he's the best.
Not really. He acknowledges Cristiano's amazing career, calls him versatile, says he's one of the best, but he stops short of calling him the greatest.
One of the best, but not the greatest. Interesting phrasing.
And R9 seems a bit uncomfortable, hyping himself up. He prefers others to judge his legacy.
Which is quite different from Cristiano, who's never been shy about stating his ambition to be seen as the best ever.
Exactly. A real contrast in personality and how they perhaps view their place in history.
Okay, so we've heard from loads of legends, different eras, different perspectives, even touched on how the guys themselves see it. It's clear there isn't one simple answer here.
Not at all. It really boils down to subjective things, doesn't it? What style excites you more? Which peak was higher? Does longevity outweigh that peak? Your own memories play a part, too.
Absolutely. So the big question for you listening is, after hearing all this, where do you stand? Who do you think is the superior Ronaldo? The real one, if you like.
And more importantly, why? Which arguments from these legends struck a chord with you? What qualities matter most to you in a player?
Yeah, think about it. It's a good exercise in, well, evaluating greatness, isn't it? And maybe trying to put your own thoughts into words using some of the language we've talked about.
Definitely. And perhaps the most interesting thing is the debate itself. It shows there isn't just one way to be great in football.
Different paths, different kinds of impact.
Exactly. It really makes you think about talent versus dedication, peak versus longevity, individual magic versus relentless efficiency, all those nuances that make football so endlessly fascinating to discuss.
Your passion for the game can make learning English, well, not just easier, but actually fun.
Which is key, isn't it? Enjoyment.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how, our brains work. When you're genuinely into something like, say, the latest transfer gossip or a really nail-biting match, your brain is just much more open to taking in new information. It's not like forcing yourself through, I don't know, boring grammar exercises.
No forced march.
It's more like absorbing the language sort of naturally within a context you already get and, importantly, you care about. You're just more likely to notice new words, different ways of phrasing things. It doesn't feel like study, does it?
Not at all. It's just keeping up with a sport you love.
Exactly.
Look, if you're finding this deep dive helpful and you want to keep exploring this whole connection between football and learning English, there's something really simple but really important you can do for us.
That's right. Please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
And it keeps us motivated, honestly, to keep bringing you more content that mixes your love for football with ways to actually improve your English.
Exactly. By subscribing, you'll get those daily updates. Football news, real English, fun content, all designed to help you get better.
So yeah, make sure you don't miss out. See you in the next one.